the shepherd saw was murder! Basically, the plot revolves around a young shepherd boy who accidentally witnesses a murder. A local duke has anger issues and is a little bit jealous and has married a young wife. Now, the young wife is actually quite faithful and actually quite fond of him, but he suspects her. So one day the young wife goes to meet a cousin of hers who is being overdramatic and is convinced that she's being abused, and she goes to visit him to reassure him that no, she's perfectly fine, please leave me alone, I'm perfectly happy with my husband. Unfortunately, the husband witnesses the wrong part of this and immediately assumes that his wife is having an affair. So he loses his rocker and proceeds to murder this young man. Of course, the wife isn't having an affair. And then when he gets home, she's like, oh yeah, by the way, I saw my cousin. He's a bit nutty. We should probably go and have a chat with him. And he's like, oh hell. I just committed murder for no reason. So, in, the terror as one does, he also then later on realizes that he got witnessed, because there was a shepherd's hut there. And he's pretty sure he saw someone in that shepherd's hut, which was, i.e., this poor kid. So basically, the Duke turns up and sees this kid and realizes, oh hell, this kid's seen everything, but then realizes, well, I've already murdered one person for no reason, I don't really want to murder another one for no reason, so instead he decides to buy the boy's silence by saying, look, I'll get you an education, I'll give you some kind of living, I'll look after your family if you shut up. And the boy goes, yes! And over a time period things go well, except for the Duke takes to sleepwalking out of guilt for the murder and keeps sleepwalking to the grave and trying to dig up the grave. It's very spooky, and in the end he dies. Happy ending for everyone involved. The Victorians. In the original story, again, like with quite a few of the other ones, the time of the story stretches over significantly longer. So when the Duke first meets the boy, he very much is a child of about 10 or 11, and then when the Duke dies, he's a young man of his 20s. Now, of course, because I'm shooting a 20-minute short film, to do this, I would have had to get two actors to play the part of the shepherd boy. I'd have to get the child, and then I'd have to get the adult. I'd have to get them looking similar to each other, and then I'd have to age the Duke by 10 years and age the Duchess by 10 years. And that is slightly beyond my budget. Also, apparently, Britain has very strict child labour laws, so getting hold of a 12-year-old's impossible. So what we did instead is we dragged Mal's in, and we shrunk the whole time frame down of the story to, I don't know, a year and a half or so. So we have Mal's being the shepherd boy in his late teens, and then we have him as a young man, early 20s. So it's not a major difference. Mal's is a young chap that looks both ages, so yeah, it works. It saved me having to acquire a 12-year-old. Also, because we made the boy older, I wanted to change his character a little bit, because originally the child was very scared because he'd witnessed a murder, but then being a little bit older, I thought it'd be a chance to inject some humour in, because I'm rather fond of injecting humour into inappropriate situations. And so we made Mal's shepherd boy character Bill. They're always called Bill. I feel that I should note this. So many Thomas Hardy's characters in his short stories are called Bill. Gets confusing. But anyway, Bill, we actually made him more mischievous and more smart, and we have it so that it's sort of clear that the boy is going to get something out of the Duke, and because the Duke doesn't want to murder him, it's more of a back and forth, and the boy also then later on starts sort of mentioning the murder as a way to get things that he wants off the Duke. Basically, we made his character more mischievous and more knowing, more grown up. The locations for what the shepherds saw were a bit more diverse than the other ones. We did use the RMT for the inside of the shepherd's hut, but then a lot of it was shot outside or in like a ducal home. So the outdoor shots, we wanted to use a shepherd's hut, like specifically a shepherd's hut, so that it made sense. So on Portland, the Isle of Portland, there is a large area called Church Ope, which is sort of a large greenish place that has two little cute stone huts on it. The only problem is that it's about a 20-minute walk to get there, so what did I do? Yes, I dragged my entire cast and crew. I am so sorry, and thank you so much for putting up with me. I dragged the cast and crew a 10-minute, 20-minute walk to this little shepherd's hut, and then we had to climb down a steep hill to get to this down, which unfortunately by the time we got there, it was so windy that we couldn't actually shoot the dialogue very well. Yep, so that was ADRing. Dear God, why do I do this to myself? Anyway, so yeah, we dragged them all the way down to Church Ope, and it looked really nice. I liked it. It looked good. Unfortunately, by which time the camera died as well. And none of the battery packs I would work. And, Yeah, I mean, we got the filming done, but I would have liked to do significantly more filming for the amount of effort it took to get there. And then unfortunately we are having to ADR quite a bit of that scene because the wind was so bad. But you got a cool stone shepherd's hut, which is half of the reason why. So to film the ducal home, I didn't want to film it on a stage. I mean, I could have done if we had to, but it just wouldn't have looked as good. So instead, we somehow managed to convince Max Gates to lend us their stuff for a few hours. Unfortunately, there was a scheduling error, and everything got a little bit confusing, which meant that we had to shoot all of the ducal scenes in precisely an hour and a half. There was 4 of them. We got it done, but at what cost? We did get some lovely inside shots of the house though, like we really got the scenes done that we needed to get to, and thank you so much to the amazing Max Gate for putting up with our unusual scheduling errors. This is what happens when you organise an entire feature film by yourself. Actually, it's what happens when you organise entire feature films just normally. Like, if you look at the other stuff that feature films get up to, like, their scheduling is bonkers. They decided to film the ancient Egyptian, you know that amazing is it Antony and Cleopatra or Julius Caesar and Cleopatra? I can't remember. The one with Elizabeth Taylor in, that was like the last big Hollywood movie. They filmed that on set in England in winter. Who films a desert scene on set in England? Anyway, sorry, that was a non sequitur.